Hey there, guys. So I want to thank you, as always, for joining today's live stream. So before I do get started, I do want to mention a few things that I've been working on. So here recently, I actually just recorded a podcast with somebody, and I was interviewed sort of about my business and about um, what I have to offer as far as online coaching. So that video will be coming out shortly. I will share that with you guys, and I will make sure to, of course, give credit to the Healing Lounge, which is where I did the podcast at, and give them credit for the work that they done. But I will be able to share it once that video is edited and it's finished. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys very soon. And I'm really looking forward to what the future holds as it relates to my online fitness coaching business. But I did want to mention that I do have a podcast episode that I did just last week, and it should be ready pretty soon, I would say. But I'll share that when that's available. Another thing, too, of course, is I am still offering 30% off right now for online fitness coaching. If that's something that you're interested in, feel free to reach out. You can go to my website, and when you join on to scheduling your consultation, you just go to the button at the top that says join the team, and you just fill out a quick form. And then from there, I will contact you and schedule a consultation if online coaching is something that you're interested in. So, with all that being said, guys, let's go ahead and talk about today's topic, which is the psychology of motivation. This is a topic that I really think is important in a lot of ways and is very important, especially when we're talking about fitness goals in particular. So, this is what we're going to be talking about today. There's different topics that I'm going to touch on, and all of this is going to be related to, of course, the topic of motivation and what we can do in order to have that motivation benefit us. So, the psychology of habit formation, how to make a fitness lifestyle, overcoming fitness plateaus, the mental game of progress, the power of mindset, fixed versus growth mindset in fitness, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, finding your drive to stay active, breaking the cycle, learning how to overcome burnout, the dopamine effect, and how to hack your brain for fitness motivation, and then the power of identity, how to think like an athlete and stay disciplined. So these are all the topics that we're going to be sort of touching on today and going over. Um, Again, guys, if you have questions about anything I discuss in these particular topics, feel free to let me know any of those questions that you may have. I'm willing to answer any of those questions. And of course, you can leave a comment too if you're on the stream. So, the psychology of habit formation. So, again, what we're talking about today is really focusing on not only motivation, but how to really build habits and how to build consistency and discipline. That's one of the other key components that comes to really accomplishing a goal is to have those different elements. And that's really what I want to, drive home with this particular live stream is it's very important to, understand the reasoning why you're wanting to accomplish a particular goal. So habits follow a cue, routine, and reward cycle. So a cue is a trigger that signals a behavior, setting workout clothes by your bed. This is something that you sort of prepare in advance before you're doing the specific action. A routine is, of course, the action itself, what you do, exercising. The reward is the benefit post workout energy boost, the benefits that you get immediately after your workout, or of course, those benefits come in the long term. A lot of rewards happen in different ways, especially when we're talking about fitness. It can happen post workout where you feel more energetic and you feel more, you know, you feel that you've gotten stronger in some way, but sometimes rewards come later, especially when we're talking about a fitness based routine. So, again, this is basically how habits are started. This can be done not only, of course, in fitness, but in how we, think of nutrition as well. So, for example, if we're focusing on this cue, routine, and reward for nutrition, this would be like really. meal prepping, in other words. The meal prepping itself, like when you're laying out a meal for the day and what you plan to eat, that is the cue or the trigger that signals the behavior. Because you've already laid out that meal or that food, it's already there, and all you have to do, of course, is go into the routine, which is eating that particular food, and then you gain the rewards from what you've eaten, whether it be you feel more energetic, you feel, a little bit more, just more focused in some ways, because certain meals can make you feel different ways, of course. You may feel, you may not, of course, feel the rewards immediately, but it's over time that we focus on it. So this is basically how you build, a habit. It just starts with a cue, a routine, and a reward. So the way that you do this is to start small. This is something I'll mention to a lot of my clients is really being aware of focusing on the small changes that you can make in your overall lifestyle routine. So begin with just 5 to 10 minutes of exercise to build momentum. So we're looking at an example of exercise. So a small amount of exercise, whatever you can do to start out, is the best way to start. Even if it is 5 to 10 minutes, that's totally fine. You could also stack habits. So you can pair workouts with existing habits like workout after morning coffee. There's different things that you can do. This could, you can coincide, anything related to nutrition. Like I want to eat, a healthier meal post workout. After I get done with my workout, eat a healthy meal or something to that effect. Make it easy. Lay out your workout gear, choose a nearby gym, or do home workouts. Again, we're at a time where there's so many different resources you have out there. And it's not only, you're able to work out from home, you're of course able to go to the gym, but you also have, others to hold you accountable, like an online coach. You have a lot of different resources at your disposal. It's just how you use them. So again, this kind of goes back to the cue. Whenever you really want to build a habit, it helps to really plan ahead and lay out what you're going to do. For me, I actually do this. I always lay out my workout clothes in the morning, or not, excuse me, not in the morning, but in the afternoon, in the evening, before I'm getting ready to go to bed, so that it's there, it's ready. I don't have to, it's not wasting time. I just pick it up and go. And that's how I've been doing it for a long time. I'm that type of person where I like to prepare beforehand. And that's a really good way to really build a strong habit. Tracking progress is really important. And this is something that a lot of people really lack when it comes to progression and when it comes to building a consistency with a habit. Many people, I see it all the time, they don't use anything to track, they don't use anything to journal, not even a physical journal. Especially like if I'm in the gym, I usually see nobody tracking their workouts or in any certain way. And that's one of the big things that I think a lot of people don't realize how important it is to track your progress and to be aware of your progression. And also, it gives you a good indicator on maybe some changes that you need to make, especially if you feel like you're in a plateau. And that's a big thing that I notice a lot with many individuals is that they don't track their workouts. They don't use anything to track. They just kind of show up to the gym. And the way you progress is really to be aware of what you're doing. So that's very important. You can also create rewards like treating yourself for sticking to your routine, new gear, fun activities. There's different things that you can do. Just really a self reward, a healthy self reward that you can, implement because of the habit that you've been forming. So, a fitness plateau, and I touched a little bit on this just a second ago. Basically, a fitness plateau is a phase where progress slows or stops despite consistent effort. This can affect strength, endurance, weight loss, or muscle growth. It can happen in multiple different ways. It's often caused by adaptation, lack of variety, or insufficient recovery. These are the really key points to keep in mind, especially when you feel like you're sort of plateauing and you're not making progress. Likely that means you need to make some adjustments in your routine and you're getting too comfortable with where you're at. So this means, of course, like I mentioned many times, progressive overload. This means, maybe making minor changes, maybe add an extra set in your workouts, maybe add a pause between the sets that you're doing, or excuse me, the reps that you're doing in those workouts. You can add a variety of different things to really change your workouts and to allow you to regress further and, prevent that adaptation of your workouts. So the signs that you've hit a plateau is that there's no improvement, of course, in your performance or strength. There's a lack of motivation or workout fatigue. Consistent weight despite diet and exercise, increased difficulty recovering after workouts. If you're hitting a plateau, it's, and I don't want to sound, in a negative, sort of be in a negative sense, because I've went through these before. Like it's something I've hit plateaus myself before. And really what it comes down to is you're doing something wrong. In other words, you have to hold yourself accountable and you have to identify the problem into why you're hitting this roadblock. So this not only happened when I worked out, but also when I was building my business. So a lot of it is that you're focusing on too much of what doesn't matter. And that's kind of how it happened with my business. And, that's kind of the same way with when I hit plateaus with my workout routine, is that I was doing something wrong, that there needed to be an adjustment somewhere, that I was focusing too much on what wasn't moving the needle forward, in other words. So, what you need to do is identify that. Be aware if there's anything like, if you have a lack of variety in your workout routine, if you're not recovering properly, if you're not getting enough rest, it could be nutrition. If you're not, eating the proper nutrients, if you're not hitting your macro goals, that can make a difference too. Hydration can make a difference. Anything like that. There's many different variables to sort of be aware of if you are, to sort of identify if you are hitting a fitness plateau. So the power of mindset. So this is something I know I've went over many times, multiple times, and this is something that I discuss, especially if somebody is joining into online fitness coaching. And this is why mindset matters and the power of mindset. So mindset itself, of course, determines your consistency and your motivation. It shapes how we handle challenges and setbacks. A positive mindset leads to long term success. Developing a strong mindset. So, the way that you do this is, of course, by setting clear goals, defining your fitness objectives for motivation, embracing the process. Focus on progress, not perfection. Shift from I can't to I will. So, you want to reframe your negative thoughts. So, going back to developing a strong fitness mindset, the most important thing, and this is something, this kind of goes back to, when a lot of individuals focus on setting a New Year's resolution. You need to be really clear about the goals that you're trying to accomplish. You cannot give yourself a vague goal like, I want to lose 50 pounds. You can't, you have to define how you want to do that. How do you want to make that happen? You have to break it down into pieces in order to accomplish the larger goal. So, really defining how much weight you want to lose in this specific period of time. And again, this goes back to what I mentioned about SMART goals, making your goals specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. That's how you really want to define your goals, is to identify them, really understand how you want to accomplish that goal. If there's any sort of limitations in your lifestyle that, maybe you may not have access to the gym as easily, then you can start with working out at home. Think of things that are within, your current lifestyle at this moment. Also be aware of, making your goals realistic, of course. You can't, instantly lose 50 pounds within a week. That's just not going to happen. Break it down into a specific amount of weight that you want to lose in, within a week, within the next 2 weeks, within a month, and separate it into pieces. It's more about step by step rather than thinking about the whole, the large goal in itself. Also, embrace the progress, or excuse me, embrace the process and focus on progress. So, when you are focusing on goals and accomplishing those goals, you want to focus on the day to day as much as possible. Don't get caught up into reaching your end goal as fast as possible. Focus on small steps that can stack, as you reach that larger goal. The more you focus on what you're doing day to day, the different habits and tasks that you do day to day that are, benefiting you in the long term, the more you're going to reach that goal. So focus on what you do day to day, the habits. And then going back to mindset shifting, I can't, I will. This is a big thing, again, that I had to really get adjusted to and really understand how important this was. Again, when I hit a plateau, I was at the point where I just wanted to give up, and I had to sort of reframe my mindset whenever that happened and tell myself that if I give up, it's really not going to happen. I'm not going to receive any kind of results. But if I keep going, I'm going to receive the results. It's just not happen. It's just not going to happen in as fast as I want, or maybe as quick as I want, but I'm going to get results no matter what. So that's the way you have to see things, is shifting your perspective. If you continue to doubt and you continue to really say, I can't do this, you're going to sabotage yourself and it's not going to happen. You have to shift that mindset. You have to change that. If you continue to, really stay within that thought process, you are not going to move forward. And I know that sounds harsh to say that. So many people get caught up in this thought process of I can't, and just really putting all these barriers in front of them that they don't need barriers for. So get out of that mindset. If you want to accomplish something, especially, and this doesn't not only relate to fitness, but in other areas of life, and just success in general. If you have that mindset, you are not going to succeed. You are sabotaging yourself. So get out of that mindset and focus on what is possible, what you can accomplish. So, intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. So, there's two different types of motivation when it comes to, when we're focusing on reaching a specific goal. And these are two factors that you need to keep in mind and really think about as you're doing your workouts and exercises. Intrinsic motivation comes from within. This is driven by personal satisfaction and enjoyment. So, this type of motivation is an example of exercising because it feels good, enjoying the process of getting stronger, and feeling a sense of accomplishment. This is something that you just feel internally. This is, your thought process and how you feel about exercise and your progress. Extrinsic motivation is driven by external rewards. So, this is rewards that you're giving, in reality, in other words. So, working out for a reward, this means weight loss, of course, any prizes that you're going to get, this is like, when we think about rewards in this sense, you would think about bodybuilding competition and things like that. Exercising to gain approval from others and training for a competition or event, of course. So, my big thing, of course, and why I continued my exercise routine was a lot of intrinsic motivation. It all came from really, progressing personally, progressing, in my own, just my own self-worth, I guess you could say, and just focusing on really how exercise made me feel rather than just trying to get reward from it. It does feel rewarding to get recognition from, what you do, of course, but I think the big thing for me was how I felt internally as I exercise, because exercise gives you so many rewards intrinsically, such as, having more energy, being able to lift something heavier, than you would normally lift. Um, Again, it goes to different factors. There's different factors that you're going to feel from, intrinsic. versus extrinsic. And, for me, intrinsic has been the biggest motivator for accomplishing my goals. And this is something that you have to identify. What type of motivation really makes you want to accomplish your goals more? Do you want to receive a physical reward from it, or do you just want to, feel the, overall health benefits, just the enjoyment of the exercise, just that sense of accomplishment in yourself? Do you want to externally or internally? So breaking through the cycle of burnout. Like I mentioned before, I've went through burnout before, and again, this kind of like I just touched on previously, a lot of it kind of relates to whether, you're focusing on the right things or the wrong things. So, how do you recognize burnout? So, this can be identified in multiple ways. And not all of these are going to be, comprehensive when you're talking about burnout itself. This could be chronic fatigue and exhaustion, decreased motivation and productivity, emotional detachment and irritability, difficulty concentrating, physical symptoms, headaches, insomnia, things of that nature. And to identify the cause, of course, the root cause is work-life imbalance, lack of control or autonomy, unclear expectations and high workload, neglecting self-care, and lack of purpose or fulfillment. So I've broke out of a couple burnouts before. Again, I've had, kind of the burnout when it comes to workouts and then also as I was building my business. And what I usually done, of course, is to take a step back. One of the best things you can do when you're hitting, that point of burnout is to step back. Just, completely stop what you're doing and really reassess the situation. You know, you step back and look at the overall bigger picture of things and understand why you're in this situation. What am I focusing on too much? What is being counterproductive to reaching my goal? And should I slow down in how much I'm working on this specific thing that I'm doing with my workouts or my nutrition? There's many different factors when it comes to burnout. But the best thing that I think you should really, take away is to step back. You're going to notice burnout when it happens. I know that this sounds like a really open-ended term, but burnout is just that feeling where I've hit it many times before in the past, especially again, when I was building my business, and this can happen in fitness too. It can happen in many different ways. But when I was building my business for like the first few years, I hit that point because I was consistently working, trying to do what I could to build it. And I was focusing on so many tasks at once. And I just got to the point where I just stopped. I couldn't focus, and what I did was I just took a step back from my business at least for a few days and just started really reassessing the situation, reassessing what's going on, what do I need to do, what do I need to change, and just have a good structure. Structure helps you too to prevent that burnout. Like with me, I've not felt that way in a long time, and I, am working a lot on my business. I mean, it's pretty much every day that I work on my business, but the way that I prevent that burnout, again, I know that I'm sort of touching a little bit on the business side of things, and I'm not going into fitness here, but these two are, of course, interchangeable. For example, like if you're in a fitness routine and like whenever I hit burnout, again, I was doing my workouts 7 days a week. I was just trying to get to that end goal faster and fast as much as possible, but I wasn't giving my body enough rest. And so at that time, of course, I had to slow down. I had to stop. It's the same example when we're talking about burnout in the aspect of fitness as well. When it happens, just take a step back and see what needs to be changed and really just identify these different points that I have on here. Are you having any imbalance in your work life? Is there just you feel like there's a lack of control? Do you feel like, you're having a high workload, but you're not getting what you expected? Are you not giving yourself enough time to really relax, to recover? You know, think of these things when you hit that point. So the dopamine effect in hacking your brain for motivation. So a neurotransmitter that determines motivation, reward, and pleasure fuels goal-directed behavior and habit formation and is released when we anticipate or achieve rewards. That's, of course, known as dopamine. So the dopamine cycle, of course, is how it affects motivation. You go through a trigger, an action, a reward, and a reinforcement. This is almost the same as when we're talking about sort of the cue, action, and reward. It's very similar in that way. And I think one thing that helps you stay in the cycle, especially when we're focusing on habit formation and things of that nature and staying motivated, is that you give yourself a reward. The more that of course, go through the trigger, the action, taking the action, but making yourself a reward at the end is really going to help, with the reinforcement and continuing to build that habit and that, sort of motivation to keep going forward. Anticipation of reward, of course, releases dopamine. So it creates motivation. The more that you think about that reward that you're going to get, it's going to keep you going. So think about that as often as possible. Of course, at the same time, we do need to think about our goals in, smaller pieces, but it can help to really have that overall process of what I'm going to accomplish when I reach this goal. So, a completion of a task, of course, reinforces the behavior, informs habits. Overstimulation, such as social media, junk food, can lead to dopamine burnout. So, again, have a good balance with your, with that reward and that reinforcement. That's going to be very important. So, the power of identity. So, this kind of goes back to, mindset in a way, and really self-belief is a big thing too, to accomplish a goal. And that's why I mentioned it just a few moments ago in our previous slides is, reframing that mindset and that self-sabotage. And I'm mentioning that so much because that's very important to get a grasp of. So your actions align with how you see yourself. Your actions are going to matter. They're going to, whatever actions, good or bad, they're going to have an influence on, what you become in the future. So athletes don't try to train, they train because it's who they are. It's again, we're going back to the mindset side of things where we're not thinking about trying, we're thinking about doing. We know that we can do this, and that's what we need to focus on. Shift your mindset from I have to work out to I am an athlete, and you don't necessarily have to be an athlete. You don't have to think of yourself as, an athlete. You could see it as a weightlifter, bodybuilder. Reframe your mindset in a different way. Don't just see exercise as something that I have to do, but that I get to do. Another thing that I think is very important to think about here is a lot of people, you know, have very, there's many people out there that are in wheelchairs that, and they can still exercise themselves, they can still, they still have that motivation to work out. And what you need to think about is you are in a great position to where you're more accessible to work out versus somebody who is not as accessible to work out. And in a lot of cases, this is one thing too that I think about. Many people that have limited accessibility to do certain things, like if somebody's in a wheelchair or if somebody, just has some kind of disability, usually they're more motivated to work out. They're more motivated to accomplish something. They use their disadvantages that they, quote unquote disadvantages, as, a way to accomplish their goal. They don't see it as a disadvantage. They see it as something that they can overcome. And, that's something important to think about. Think about the situation that you're in and really, put yourself in the perspective of somebody else who may have to, may have a struggle in that way. And that's something I think is important. And again, I think I just think that's really wild how, certain people really just limit themselves in certain ways when they have the ability to do it. They have that ability. It's just getting out of that mindset, that bad mindset. Small daily habits reinforce this identity. The more you do those daily habits that are moving you towards your goal, the more you're going to see those rewards. They are going to stack and they're going to add up over time. Structure and consistency eliminate decision fatigue. Be decisive. Don't be indecisive on what you're trying to accomplish. Get up and do what needs to be done. When your alarm goes off, get up. Don't be indecisive. Make it happen. Just get up and make it happen. Treat workouts, meals, and recovery as non-negotiables. It's just something you do in your daily routine. It's a habit. It's what you do in your daily routine. You just show up to it and you do it. It's just like if you're brushing your teeth or anything else, you show up to it and you do it. Prioritize sleep, hydration, and proper nutrition. These are very important. And, I could do another live stream about all of these different points, especially the balance between the three. But make sure that you're getting enough sleep, 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Of course, there's many different factors to keep in mind when it comes to hydration. But, really tracking water intake can be beneficial in many ways. Of course, tracking nutrition, proper nutrition, being mindful of your macros. There's different things to, be aware of when it comes to that. Set up your environment for success. So again, this goes back to laying out your workout gear, planning your meals, having things ready in advance, the day before. This is really going to help with that habit forming, aspect. Alrighty. So I know that there was a lot of different points I talked about with you guys today, but I hope that you guys found this helpful. This is a topic that I really think is important to address, and I think it's important for people to be aware of, especially when it comes to motivation and accomplishing a goal in particular. Again, I could dive deeper into this topic because there's so many different nuances to it and so many different aspects to mindset and just understanding, you know, mentally what we need to do to really reframe our mindset and accomplish our goals. But the one thing that I want you to be aware of the most is really the habit formation, understanding, having that cue, that action, and that reward. Think of that cycle when you're trying to build a habit. Really focus on that. And again, go back and rewatch this. I think these are really helpful points, especially if you're somebody who's struggling with trying to build a healthier habit. Just think about those specific points and what you need to change. So thank you guys for watching. I do really appreciate it. You can visit my website at bponlinefitness.com where I have a ton of information as it relates to online fitness coaching. And I do have my contact information here if you do have any questions about anything related to online fitness coaching, or of course, any just questions related to health or fitness, and nutrition in general. Feel free to reach out. Again, I will have a live stream next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, and this live stream will be uploaded to YouTube. I'll also upload it on other platforms as well as Rumble and Odyssey. I'm working on building channels there so that this content is more accessible to other people. But thank you guys once again for taking the time to check this live stream out. I hope you found it helpful and valuable. And again, I'll see you guys next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time in the next live stream.